Dudes, thank you all for coming. Most of you are members of the gym. There's a couple of you that aren't members of the gym. There's a couple of people. We have a couple of people maybe coming, maybe decided not to on Saturday afternoon, but who aren't members, who wanted to learn a little bit more about it. A couple of the online students are here. So, you know, if there's a new face, say good day and introduce yourself out, you know, have a good time. But yeah, thanks everyone for being here. This event is a new thing for us. We've never actually run a seminar. And I guess the idea was that we felt there's a whole bunch of things that we don't get to explain to you guys as a business. So there's so much discussion and so much thought and so much evolution behind what we do here in the classes and what we coach you on and all those things that perhaps for a lot of you is missed. We write blogs, we put stuff on social media, we send emails, but still even with all that stuff, it's easy for the message not to get through all the time. And so what we wanted to do was just to bring you guys in and discuss a whole bunch of elements of the Jungle Brothers and of the method and of our evolution so that it can give a bit more context to your training, which, you know, at the end of the day will make you kind of appreciate and enjoy what you do with us more. Hopefully, it might make you dislike us more. That's okay too. But it'll give you a better explanation of it because, yeah, you know, for some people it's just exercise, right? And for us it's more than that. So really the intention is to provide a deeper explanation behind a whole bunch of the things we do here. We reached out to you guys and asked for some questions and we got some really good ones. So we are going to sort of cover those off as we go through the different topics. But we really want to keep an open Q&A type approach. So we encourage you to ask questions at any point. You can challenge us on anything if something doesn't make sense or if you thought otherwise, or even if you just want us to elaborate, please stop us and pull us up because again, there's so much stuff in there that I'm sure there's going to be some things we might end up skipping over. Okay, so don't be afraid to put your hand up and ask a question. And we might prompt you for some questions. We'll definitely do a bit of a Q&A at the end as well. Okay. I guess the first thing I wanted to say was, yeah, the $5 donation that you all made goes towards Eden Reforestation's projects. They plant trees in damaged parts of the world?
Yeah, places impoverished, places that have high levels of impoverishment. But they don't just plant trees, they teach the locals how to grow back their rainforest or their jungle or whatever it is that surrounds them. And then they teach them how to sustain it and make a living off it without having to chop it down again. So yeah, they do some really great stuff.
So yeah, it's totally in line with what we're about. Yeah, so all the money from today goes towards them. The other thing is Panavore Cafe. They provided the coffee tree. Our boy, he trains here. A lot of you guys know him. Enjoy the coffee and then go and buy his coffee sometime. It's a great place and another small business we like to support. Yeah, he hooks us up all the time. Keep your phones on silent. If you need to take a phone call, something, go outside. Bathrooms at the back. Yeah, sprawl out and like make yourself comfortable. You can move your chairs if you want. You can come lie down. Feel, you know, no, we don't like anyone sitting still for too long, so we expect a little bit of movement. You should try and keep yourself comfortable. Yeah.
There's some trigger point tools there too if you feel like you want to roll something out, balls and stuff. The rolling pin if you want to roll a person out next to you.
All right, cool.
Maybe just go through the general topics that we're going to run through for the day.
Yeah, okay, cool.
We'll probably, yeah, we'll move through the stuff for the next kind of hour and a half and then have an open Q&A at the end, although Q&A is encouraged throughout the seminar.
Yeah. And look, we're keeping it like we have a plan that we want to get through. Paul's going to try and steer us through a bit quicker if T and I go off topic or if we start talking a little bit too much. So he might just interject at points and he's also going to play the role of like maybe representative of some of you guys to ask the questions that perhaps people aren't putting their hand up to ask. But yeah, basically we want to go through what our philosophy is, where it all began and how it came to be what it is. We want to talk about our method of training, how that evolved and what inspires us to have built that. We want to talk about nutrition and our thoughts on that, covering all areas as much as we can get into. We want to talk about your training and so how all of these things are relevant to you and your physical, athletic, mental development. And then we want to talk about the future of the Jungle Brothers, what our plans are and how that applies to you guys again. And then Q&A at the end. So there's about sort of 6 or 7 different areas for us to get through. Yeah. cool. Shall we move forward?
Yes.
All right, cool. Very first thing we thought we should tell you a little bit about what our own personal journeys are and how we arrived at this point. I'd like T to open up on that. Came to be who you are.
Okay, so the three of us met in the film industry. So we were lighting technicians, and
Top of our field.
yeah, it was great experience. We learnt like a lot of stuff that we bring into what we do here at JB, and but it wasn't very there wasn't a lot of job satisfaction. So I put together a proposal to build a gym, and that gym was everything that we couldn't find in other gyms that we were looking for. So generally, my training routine participated in about 5 different locations to get a little bit of something from everywhere. And I was just got to the point where I was like, why isn't there somewhere supplying every piece of the puzzle in one place, you know, in the ratios that are necessary, you know? And when I took that to these boys, they were in a very similar position. They felt the same. So it resonated with them, and that's how it all kind of kicked off.
It started with Ted. It started with Ted. He rang me up and was like, "Hey, I want to meet you for dinner." Actually, it was Joe and I want to meet you for dinner. Yeah. You guys already had the conversation going.
Yeah.
And he caught me at a time where I was a bit disillusioned, and I was like, "I need something like this."
Yeah, so I think at the beginning it was a bit of a creative outlet, and it was something that went from almost a hobby into a part-time business, and then now into a full-time business that's supporting the 3 of us and Alan as well. So it's on the growth.
What was your personal journey with training? Where did it start?
I would say I've always been involved in impact sport. So rugby and into boxing, Thai boxing and grappling, and I got to a point where my body started to punish me for it, but I didn't want to stop. So I looked for other avenues, ways to continually tweak my biomechanics and my tendon and ligament strength and that kind of stuff. And most of it was revolved around ways of rehabilitating injuries. For myself, and then once I moved into the fitness industry for my clients, and then that started turning into, okay, injury prevention, and how do I make my body strong enough not to get re-injured again, and injury management. And I think that overflowed into the way we coach in this gym, and it's probably first and foremost, and that is what builds a strong body. At the end of the day, if you're injured, you can't make progress. So if you can avoid injury, then your body can continue to progress, to grow, to get stronger, to get more limber, to get faster, whatever it is your goals are. So that's generally my background.
Yeah, mine started with team sports, with soccer, many years ago. Paul and I played soccer together for years, right? In our early 20s. But I played soccer since I was 6 years old, something like that. I didn't actually get into the fitness side of things until I was about 24. And it started with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so that was kind of like my segue into developing myself. Because prior to that, it had just never been a concern. I was enjoying my 20s. And then, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that, I'd done some martial arts as a kid, and so when I got back into that as an adult, it struck a chord. And I dived headfirst into it, was training every day or 6 days a week. And then that sort of dragged me into calisthenics, and I was doing a lot of that down at Bondi when I lived down there. And then that sort of, I had friends doing CrossFit at the time. CrossFit was just kicking off, so I was playing around with that, and that was like a new thing, and that seemed kind of cool. But it was the same kind of thing as what T mentioned. It was like, I'd go to Jiu-Jitsu and it was just Jiu-Jitsu, and everyone moved like shit and was full of injuries. And then I'd go to CrossFit, and then it's just CrossFit, and everyone's psyched on all that. But I was like, I don't want to do CrossFit all the time. I don't want to do just Jiu-Jitsu. I appreciate weightlifting. I don't want to do just that. It was kind of, I I didn't want to sort of immerse myself in only one of those disciplines. But that was really the beginning of it, and I guess like what happened with you, it became the go-to guy within my circle of friends, where it was like I was the dude that could teach them stuff about getting fit and whatnot. And then at the same time, that was when T said, "Hey, I want to put this gym together." So it was kind of like a natural evolution there. At least it seems that way if I think back. But,
yeah, how do you see, when did I come into that story? Because I was in the film industry. My background is ball sports, and I did martial arts, I did kung fu and boxing when I was a teenager. And then I fell into the film industry, and basically I went through like a decade of not doing any specific training, and I just played ball sport. I never missed a season. Played soccer with Joey, we played Premier League, I played rugby, I was surfing, bodyboarding specifically for years through high school. Just a guy who likes to go out and get amongst it. Less specific training. I was never good at specific training or going to training for my ball sports. That kind of side of things started to come in many years later, pretty much when you guys tapped me on the shoulder and were like, "Hey, do you want to get amongst this and do something else?" And it was definitely a creative outlet at that time. And as far as my training journey in relation to what we're doing now goes, it kind of only started when I started hanging out with these boys and we started putting this together. It's been a shallower journey for me. You know, it hasn't come from as deep training background as these guys, but it's been as enriching in the last 5 years. We started together in 2012, and you know, these guys have really inspired me. I've learned a lot about lots of things, really. Through these guys, it's been unreal to be in business with them. I got reconnected with martial arts, and I started doing jiu-jitsu shortly after we put this back together. Put this Jungle Brothers. We registered for a business in 2012, and I think that was the same year I started jiu-jitsu and had my first kid. Yeah, that's right. So I reconnected with martial arts, and I just started coaching here, 2 months ago. It's been a long transition, but I'm really happy to be here. And you know, like I said, my journey's still like at the beginning of the path in terms of how training's going. I'm learning every week. So, yeah.
So the philosophy, I think, originated from creating the anti-gym gym.
Yes.
So anything that, and when we talked about this, is when CrossFit was just starting to come out.
That's right.
And they snabbled it from us because they took that anti-gym kind of.
They actually did snabble it
approach.
from us. It was quite incredible.
Like, wow, someone's already done it, like right in front of us. But
to give you guys an impression, T's original business proposal that he sent to Paul and I was like, "Guys, this is what I'm picturing. Just try and imagine it. It's a gym with like an open space. There's some barbells. There's like an AstroTurf track where you push these sleds up and down. There's like gymnastics rings and stuff." And we're like, "Whoa, where did you fucking come up with this, bro?" And we're like, "Let's do it." And then like cool, let's start. And then like 6 months later, it's like, "Man, have you seen pictures of these CrossFit gyms that are popping up?" And then it was like, "Hang on a second, man, someone's already doing this."
And we were looking at that option.
We were, yeah. Well, originally we thought it would be a big gym that people would come and train at, and we'd like staff it.
Yeah.
And then we realised that that was not financially viable, right? As well as realising that the idea was sort of become a bit old now.
Yeah.
It was like it's not actually going to be a financially sustainable option for us to run just an open gym. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the idea of it was to be open to any and all disciplines, rather than there's a real stigma in I don't know if that's the right word, but if you're working on our side of the industry, there's certain role models for strength and conditioning and lifting and sports science, and there's a hierarchy. And if you kind of break away from these molds, then you get scrutinized and criticized a lot. So a lot of people follow very blindly, and they take a lot of what, these other conditioning